more education. This is going to be a brief lecture, and then Dr. Menaldi is going to get us all to warm up our voices. And we're going to get a lot of performers here. They need your help warming up their voices, and then you are in for quite a treat. Let's see. Can we get the PowerPoint on? Usually I have control over the PowerPoint. John and I'm going to be communicating up there because that's where the computer is, so bear with. I have one more announcement to make. Usually they don't let food or drink in here, and there are not a lot of stage hands at the end to help. So make sure if you did bring food and drink in, you just take it out with you and throw it out. Okay? All right, so here we are for World Voice Day 2011. You can advance it to the next slide, please. World Voice Day started as Brazilian Voice Day back in the 90s, and it was to raise awareness for laryngeal cancer. It's become an internationally celebrated day, and the meaning is more global now, just to raise vocal health awareness. Next slide, please. So, I don't know how many of you have seen one of these before. Who's seen one of these, and maybe even their own? All right? This is a beautiful instrument, it's the larynx. It's the voice box, and it houses these white structures here, which are the vocal folds. Most of us have one of these. Most of us use one of these. And almost all of us have listened to one of these. Go ahead and play, please. But you've never seen it in action. So the human voice is such a beautiful instrument. Many of us pay good money to hear a good one, or they slip out on a Thursday evening for a free one. Even if we're not singers, the voice is very important. It is our most accessible, if not our most effective means of communication. But that being said, we take the voice for granted. We're all guilty of it. We accept a little bit of hoarseness as normal. Will come back, and many times it does come back. But it's not until someone's lost his or her voice for a significant period of time, as we just heard about, that one realizes how important their voice is to his or her life or livelihood. Next slide, please. So, to know how to have a healthy voice, you have to know how the voice works. So, this is a complicated mechanism. We'll try to explain it in about 30 seconds. Okay? But basically, the vocal instrument is composed of 3 parts. All right? Just like a violin. You have the strings. These are the vocal cords, or vocal folds is what we call them. And they vibrate. Then you have the bow. You need something strung across the strings to get them to vibrate, and that's your breath. And then you have the body of your instrument. Just like if you pulled that violin string and bowed across it, you wouldn't hear much. You need the body of the instrument to bring out all those beautiful harmonics and give the violin its unique character. Same with the voice. And that body is the throat, the nose, the sinuses, and the mouth, and so forth. Everything above the vocal folds. Next slide, please. So, one more. There we go. So here's just a schematic of how things work. Ignore all this stuff. It's way too complicated for me. Here you can see a sort of image if you slice things this way. I wouldn't recommend doing that, by the way. These are the vocal folds. What you don't see here is to vibrate, they have to do 2 things. They have to close, and they have to be pliable. They have to vibrate, and they're able to do that because it's a multi-layered structure. The outer layer should be nice and loose. They close, and air from the lungs builds up pressure below them, and blows through and causes them to vibrate. It sustains the vibration. And then that sound goes through the vocal tract here. Your nose and sinuses will be included in this as well. And that's what brings out all those beautiful harmonics. Next slide. So really the key to healthy voice production, all else being equal, is you want to maximize the use of your breath support and maximize the use of those resonators, that vocal tract, so you can produce the most beautiful sound possible while reducing or minimizing the work of the vocal folds so we don't strain them. Next slide. So what happens if things go awry? They're not working so well, or we injure ourselves, or something else happens? Well, then we develop hoarseness. Well, what's hoarseness? Hoarseness is just a change in vocal quality. And we think of it as raspiness, but that's only one kind of hoarseness, okay? And if you listen to the voice, if you listen to your voice, you can have a good sense of what's going on. If the voice is raspy, it means something is impeding the vibration of your vocal folds. That may just be inflammation from a cold you have, or a little bit of overuse of the voice. It could be a mass in the vocal folds. It could be scarred. If the voice is breathy, then your vocal cords aren't closing completely, and air is escaping. And that could be the sign of something like a vocal fold paralysis. Sometimes as we age, our vocal folds go a little bit, and we can't close them as well either. You may have peculiar sounds to your voice, but I don't want to do that because that hurts a little bit. You may hear spastic qualities to the sound. And that can be the sign of a neurologic disorder. It can also be the sign of what we call a functional disorder, which means, the voice sounds strange, we look at it, we don't really see anything. Maybe it's a problem related to the psyche or something else. And then, you may have a change in resonance. We've all been there, we have a cold, our nose gets stuffy, and all of a sudden you lose that space for resonation. So you hear that and you change the resonance. Maybe tonsils swell up from tonsillitis, you get a little garbled sounding to the voice. Next slide, please. So why do we care? Why pay attention to these voice changes, besides what we've already heard? Well, first of all, early recognition and treatment of voice problems will provide a better chance of recovering the voice, no matter what the problem is. If it's a benign problem, you yell, you scream, you bleed, you get a polyp, well, even cancer, but really, the voice can manifest itself in a number of diseases, from rheumatology, endocrinology, pulmonary, all those subspecialties in medicine. Next slide. So, you come in to see the doctor, you've heard Anna, and I'll wrap to this. Usually if you're coming in with a voice problem, it's important to look at the vocal folds. And there are a couple ways this can be done. This is like the spaghetti noodle way, How many people used to take a spaghetti noodle and put it from their nose to their mouth? Anybody? Well, this is how they do it, if you want to try it at home later. We go through the nose, around the palate, and down, and we look down, and we can see that voice box. Another way, which gives us a much more magnified view and allows us to look at very subtle abnormalities, is with a scope in the mouth. Next slide. And then if we hook these scopes up to a strobe light, who was around in the 70s? You're around in the 70s, you know what a strobe light is. And strobe light flashes very fast, it picks up a signal, frequency of vibration. I won't get into the physics. But anyway, it allows us to see vibration, which is important because you can have a very smooth, perfect looking vocal fold that doesn't vibrate at all. And there's something wrong with that. Next slide. So let's just see how this manifests. Now there are pictures of vocal folds here. I'm sorry, I meant to say that before. If you don't like it, just close your eyes and listen, okay? Let's click up on this one here. Listen to the voice.
When the sunlight strikes the raindrops in the air, they
pretty nice sounding voice.
And form a rainbow.
No real problems.
I
must have operated on it. All right, so let's take a look down here at the strobe. And we see beautiful, beautiful vocal folds, symmetric, vibrating, gorgeous. It relates to the voice, okay? Next picture. All right, well here all of them you can see these don't look like the last ones, okay? This is a cyst on the undersurface. It's quite a large one too, and it's been banging into this side for a while and it made a polyp there. So this, by waiting, and this gym teacher waited quite a while, made it a much more difficult case, a surgical case, but still these masks could be removed and she was able to get a lot better. But it would have been a lot easier had she come in earlier and had maybe had a small cyst there. Let's listen to the voice.
When the sunlight strikes the raindrops in the air, they act like a prism and form a rainbow.
Let's
They
play the
bring
strobe.
a vision of white light into many beautiful colors. These take the shape of a
See,
long...
vibrations impaired, they don't vibrate as well as others, right? You hear the voice, you see it on exam, okay? Raspy voice, impaired vibration. Next one. Well, this is something, a scar is a 4-letter word. It's a bad word with the voice. Now, there are different degrees. Many people have mild scar in their vocal folds with good voices. But scar, which usually develops from ignoring a voice problem and repeatedly traumatizing it, can be a very devastating injury, very difficult to repair this because we don't have ways of regenerating tissue yet. Maybe stem cells, who knows, but right now we don't. So listen to this voice.
When the sunlight strikes the raindrops in the air.
Some of your singers have been singing blues for years, not with great technique, overdoing it, losing the voice, gradually lost his range, and then now he has a hard time speaking, very breathy and raspy, you can hear that. And he tires very easily because he's straining. Let's see the stroke. Vocal cords don't close, breathy, and they don't vibrate very well, impaired vibration, and you can see this big groove there. Okay, I'm going to show you a picture from the operating room. Go ahead, next stuff. So I haven't done anything, I just want to say that. You see these big deep grooves in there on the side of the vocal folds. And that's called a sulcus vocalis, a very, very tough injury. Preventable with good vocal hygiene, but also presenting earlier than 25 years of doing the same thing over and over again. Next slide. Let's listen to this voice.
When the sunlight strikes the raindrops.
So we all agree that's a breathy voice, right? Lots of air escape. Let's play the stroke.
The rainbow is
Look at this vocal cord here.
White
It's not moving.
so many beautiful colors.
This one is, that one's not, that's vocal cord. It's a vocal cord paralysis. Because he presented with this, we did appropriate tests, and this was caused by a tumor, a cancer in the left upper lobe of the lung, pushing on the nerve. So because he presented with his voice, we were able to find that so we could be treated for that early. Next slide. All right, so how do we prevent, what can we do to keep our voices healthy so it's there for us when we need it? And there were vocal hygiene brochures out there. If you didn't grab one on the way out, and that gives a lot of tips. Just briefly, hydration, very important, okay? That's why we have water here from Lakeshore, who I did not thank, and we should. They donated all that water, tons of water for us. Vocal folds love hydration. Don't do anything that hurts, makes your horse, basically, don't do anything that hurts or makes your voice, makes your voice hurt or your throat hurt. And there's some obvious things. Don't smoke. It's not good for you. I don't know if you heard about that, but it just came out recently. And other things that are not so good on your voice, throat clearing. And most importantly, listen to your voice. You just learned some things, raspy, breathy. You can tell what your voice is doing. If it's tired or fatigued, you had a bad night out or you overdid it, rest it. Rest your voice. Go ahead, next one. If you teach or something, use your voice. You have to use your voice for your profession during the day. When you don't need to use it for your profession, rest it. Don't get on a cell phone and start talking over, additionally. You can taxi it more. So when do we want to seek attention? Anyone who has horses for over 2 weeks, that's not normal. And you need to get seen. Your vocal cord should be visualized. And if you have a rapid onset of hoarseness after vocal abuse, you're yelling at Maglio because he's swinging on the first pitch when, they need a bass runner at the bottom of the night. If you could rest, if you're smart, you'll rest your voice for a couple of days. Wow. I think I just got a sign from above. All right, hang on. Can we do something about that? Maybe it's Elijah. I think 50% of you got that joke. All right, if your voice doesn't return normal after several days of voice rest, it's probably a good idea to come in and get checked because there's probably significant injury there. All right, next slide. I have to move along. Okay, well, I thought I would it's the end of this little session. Dr. Menaldi is going to come up. We're all going to warm up our voices. Then we're going to have the concert. And I thought it's good to always, at the end of a passage, to drive the point home with a nice cadenza. And this larynx is just going to remind you that you should be paying attention. Go ahead, hit that. These are not the drones you're looking for. All right, next slide. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the warm-up.